Good morning. Welcome to this workshop, Introduction to Remote Sensing. And yesterday we were having the introduction to GIS. Somebody asked a very pertinent question. How do we get the data? How do we get the data that we input into the GIS? I think yesterday we got a feel of GIS, we got a feel of the sort of data that we can use, how we can manipulate it, etc., etc. And processing is another option, another source of data that we can use for in our GIS operations. So we can use it as input into your GIS, but it also has sort of standalone applications, some of which we shall be reflecting on today. At the end of this short module, I'd like us to have an appreciation of the basics of remote sensing in relation to how we acquire the imagery, what sense we can make of it, and I'd like us also to look at some potential applications of remote sensing. You will appreciate that this is a semester-long module, so we are going to compress as much as possible. We shall go as fast as you can take it. And but at the end of the day, I am hoping you will have some basic appreciation of remote sensing, what it involves, how we can use it, and if you're tickled enough, you may think of pursuing it at another level. So this time, hopefully between now and the tea time, we shall be looking at definitions. It's always good to start definitions. When we went to S1, they used to tease us. Page 1, chapter 1, page 1, section 1. But it's a good place to start. Helps put all of us on the same footing. Examples, sensors, applications, advantages, challenges that come with using the satellite imagery. And I was like asking this question, when it comes, what comes to mind when you hear the term remote sensing? Any ideas? Yes.
You are able to sense something very far away.
Exactly. Any other ideas? Yes.
Yes, getting information from an object instant using your going to get that information.
Yeah. Yes. So. So the idea behind remote sensing is, we have object of interest, we have the distance, and we are having some sort of interaction, communication. I'm sure when I say Dr. Babinet, I'm sure we are of the same generation. When we were growing up, TV, and the neighbors, you had to go to the TV and adjust at the TV. But with these days, you can't think of a TV without a remote. Yeah, so there's that aspect. You have the distance between you and what you're interested in. And various examples. When you think of the human body, what are the when we think of the human body, what are the senses? What are the 5 senses of the human body? Sight, test. So what do you think would fit in our definition of remote sensing? Sight, smell,
And hearing.
hearing. So those would be our examples, of remote sensing. I think the context of our discussion, we are really interested in sensors operating in space and collecting information about the Earth's surface. And they've always intrigued me, how do we get these sensors in space? And how do they operate? And in this clip, I'd like us to have just an impression of how we get these sensors to space. I hope it will be loud enough.
Down now for launch of the Delta II with Landsat 7. T-minus 20 seconds. Everything go this time. 15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Main engine start and liftoff of the Delta II rocket with the advanced Landsat 7 spacecraft.
Now make our way from a nominal MECO altitude now 53 nautical miles, downrange distance 96 nautical miles, velocity over 6700 miles per hour. MECO, both burners have been on. Good separation. Second stage engine has ignited. Good burn on second stage engine. We see bearing on latch. Good separation, no sign of recontact. Second stage continues to burn well.
In space, this is now what happens. It has been launched, and that's how it continues for the rest of its lifetime. And the sense of that sensors actually have lifetime in space. Now, when you see that, what are the motions that are evident? No? Yeah. You see the satellite moving, and the Earth is rotating. Also. Now, supposing the Earth was stationary, the satellite was moving, what would happen? It would always, yeah. And how was the other way around? Supposing it was only the Earth moving and the satellite stationary? Yeah, that's what it happened. But now we have a sort of that issue there. So we take advantage, what is being taken advantage of is the rotation of the Earth around its axis. But in effect, the satellite is actually moving, along one path. But because of the rotation of the Earth, it's able to cover the whole Earth. Is that clear? Now, I want to introduce a term, and now you can see the Victoria. It has been mapped. And then after some time, we were able to remap Lake Victoria. Now, that time it takes to retrace. Of course, we know that the path followed by the satellite is referred to as an orbit. So the time it takes to retrace that orbit is referred to as temporal resolution. And these resolutions are some of the things that we uniquely defined satellites. So temporal resolution is one of the means by which we're able to identify or uniquely identify satellites. So we have different types. I mean, all satellites have got a certain type of temporal resolution, and this will be dependent on its applications. Now, we have satellites which have a temporal resolution of 1 day. So we have got satellites which have a resolution of 16 days, 30 days, 10 days. And again, it's not about which one is better than the other. It comes down to the application. So, like I always like telling my students, if you're shifting from one place to another, a lorry is appropriate. If you're going to bench in box, a lorry might be not exactly the most appropriate means of transport. So, using that analogy here, if you are monitoring an occurrence of flooding, probably would consider 16 days too far. Because in 2 weeks, you need to know, you need an assessment of what is happening immediately. If you are monitoring agriculture, you can afford 16 days. You can even after a month, or if you're looking at how fast the city is growing, even monthly is okay. You don't need to have a daily image to see how the city is growing. So it comes down to, temporal resolution comes down to applications. Now, what some people have, some companies or organizations have done is to come up with a clever way of accounting or improving the temporal resolution. So, like there's a sensor which is referred to as MODIS. So the ones we use in environmental monitoring. What they do is they have a sensor which that in the morning comes from the north to the south. Then in the afternoon, there's another one from south to the north. So in places like the equator, it means that you'll have coverage twice a day. We're going to have a clip later on, DMC, Disaster Monitoring Constellation. Now, this is a company in the UK, and their job is to build satellites for countries. And what they do is that, have satellite for the UK, another one for Nigeria, another for Algeria, another for Spain. So they have like 5 constellations which have exactly the same specifications. And they'll program them to orbit, consecutively, so that instead of having 16 days temporal resolution, because we have sensors get imagery from different sensors, that helps to narrow the temporal resolution. Instead of 16 days, you now have like 2 days. So those are some of the clever ways in which temporal resolution is improved. The other aspect of resolution that is important is what we refer to as spatial resolution. And a good example of this is, if you look at your phones, especially your smartphones with the megapixels. So if you have a 2 megapixel camera, an 8 megapixel camera, you can give better resolution. Yeah, and I don't know how many of us did fine art at level. When you see them drawing posters, they have to get your passport photo and put a grid and use that to draw a portrait of you. I don't know if you used to see them or you were never interested in what the fine art people were doing. But that grid, the fineness of that grid determines the level of detail that will be depicted in the portrait. So the finer the resolution, the more the detail. So I presume we all have used Google Earth. You will realize that with Google Earth, you get, you can see, even your car. You can see your house, you can see the car, you can, but if some places it's not very clear. It's because the imagery they have used, especially in cities, is of high spatial resolution, whereas in some of the upcountry places, they're using low resolution imagery, up to 30 meters. So for here, where we're able to see detail, we're looking at probably, in some cases, we're looking at 1 meter resolution, in other cases, 30 meter resolution. Yes. No problem. Yeah, so again, issue of spatial resolution is also dependent on the application. So if you are interested in urban studies where you need to see the buildings and the like, high spatial resolution is important. So if you're looking at a forest or wetland, you don't need to see at 1 meter resolution. And it also so happens that you've seen the swath. We call this a swath. The width of that is referred to as the swath. If you look at the swath of satellite image, usually the high spatial resolution has a smaller swath, whereas the low spatial resolution usually has a bigger swath. So we have sensors here of Equinox or QuickBite. QuickBite goes up to 60 centimeters, Equinox 1 meter. Then you come to other sensors, 10 meters. Landsat, one of the oldest sensors, has 32 meters, 32 meters. Then you have MODIS, which goes up to 1 kilometer. Again, it comes down to the application that you want to use it for. So usually MODIS, we are looking at bigger areas, region. You study the patterns of the whole country, Uganda. Whereas Landsat will be looking at a region, like a forest. So all of your Makerere forest will be seen in that. Whereas when you're looking at high resolution imagery, you are looking at just Kampala. Your image will cover, cover this Kampala. So again, we've looked at temporal resolution. We have looked at spatial resolution. There's another resolution that we're going to look at, but I'll come back to it later, and that is spectral resolution. It will make more sense after our next clips. And then we have another one, radiometric resolution. The idea behind radiometric resolution here, we're talking about quantization of data. To what detail can we represent data? So, for example, if you had a 2-bit image, if you had a 1-bit image, it would mean you have only 2 levels of representing your data. So it would either be black or white. That's what your image would be. If you had a 2-bit image, it would have 2 to the power 2, that is 2 times 2. That means you have 4 levels of representing the data. Many of our sensors are 8-bit, implying that they have 256 levels of representing data. And for the sensors, this is again fixed. With the improvement of technology, we're now having more of our sensors going to 12 bits. So they have the max 1096 level of representing the data. So I'll come back to spectral resolution later on. So in effect, we have a paparazzi in space collecting data on the Earth's surface. And it is something that is done by companies, so usually government agencies, and in Africa, I think it's Nigeria which has sensors in space. South Africa, they developed a sensor. It was actually developed at University of Stellenbosch. They developed a sensor, launched it into space, and collected some data, like put it to some wobble and those stuff in the imagery. I think also Algeria, they have sensors. UK, they have a couple of companies that got satellites into space. US, a lot of the imagery based usually from the US. They have a couple of sensors. Now, I also need to emphasize that there are so many types of sensors. The sensors that we're looking at are what we refer to as Earth observation sensors, which would be different from your communication sensors. Now, think of a case where you have your communication sensor like that, and you did the technical. You have to wait for the satellite to reappear. So the sensors that we use for communication are what we refer to as geostationary. So you've seen how the Earth has rotated. So the geostationary sensors move at the same, the physicists call it same angular velocity. So they move at the same speed as the Earth, and hence appear to be stationary. But they're not stationary, they're moving at the same speed as the Earth. So many of our communication satellites are geostationary satellites. Also, some of the weather satellites are also geostationary, and they're usually located around the equator. So it moves at the same velocity as they are. So for our purposes, for remote sensing, we refer to this as Earth observation satellites. So, in light of what we have seen, what do you think would be some of the applications for collecting data in this way? How do you think we could apply this? Yes? The only wrong answer is the one which is not mentioned. Yes?
For instance, in archaeology, if you carry out excavation, you first have to find out where the artifacts are. So usually you apply that to sense below the surface. Because usually, like we're talking about the bits, the colors change where we have metal, where we have clay. So it helps out before you can engage in excavation.
Okay, now maybe to say more right, and it's a good example, archaeology. Now I need to mention something here that our satellites do not tell us what is underneath. What we are seeing is what is on the surface. But with the experience, we can make inference about what is underneath. So, especially in archaeology, there are other types of sensors that we can use to get, I think in geological profiles and the like, and from there, the archaeologists will tell that I think this sort of place could potentially have something of interest. And so you have to combine high resolution imagery as well as low resolution imagery to get an idea of what could be underneath it. Any other ideas? Yes?
Forestry, can use it to map
Yes.
forest cover.
Yes, forestry has lots of applications. And here we're interested in extents. What is the extent of the forest? If we look at the extent of the forest in 96, 2006, 2016, we can even come up with a trend, whether it has reduced or increased. We can use that to see if an intervention has worked out. So if you look at wetlands over a couple of years, can we see the impact of an intervention of a law? So this law was introduced in this year. Has that had a knock-on effect on how the wetlands have been preserved or they have been devastated or, yeah. So that's a good example. Yes, next second.
In agriculture, fertility of soil is dependent on different features like topography.
Yeah.
So you know where, if you to start out your maybe agricultural activity, where to
Yes.
whether near a forest reserve, whether near a valley or a water resource.
Now you bring up a very pertinent issue, agriculture. As far as remote sensing is concerned, there are so many agricultural applications. Now, as we can see, you will observe that we are able to see the vegetation. We are also able to see places that will probably be diseased. We'll also be able to see that. Now, we may not be able to see the fertility of the soils from the sensor, but by the condition of the crops, we can make inference about that. But there's also another, very big area. It's called precision agriculture. I don't know if you've heard of it. The idea behind precision, of course I know some of you talked about it in some of your seminars. The idea behind precision agriculture is that we are trying to harness the spatial tools to improve on output. So let's say we have an area like Makerere forest, Kampala sugar plantation. We could map the soils so that we know what the soils are across an area. We can map the topography, where is the hill and where is the valley. We can map various other aspects of it. Input this into your tractor, which should be designed for that purpose. And when there are distributing fertilizers, it will distribute, putting into consideration all those factors. Which area has been seen to be fertile, so to put more fertilizers there. Which areas are already fertile, and then we will put less there. And that's why it is referred as precision agriculture. And the idea is that they want to use, GIS techniques to be able to reduce on your inputs. Because traditionally, you can spread your fertilizer, uniformly. But with precision agriculture, you want to, put your inputs where it's most needed. And that is by harnessing all of this information. Topography, the fertility, and so on and so forth. Of course, this is applicable when it comes to large-scale agriculture. Any other applications that come to mind? Like we mentioned yesterday, also here, applications are also limited by your imagination. There are so many examples. Earthquake monitoring, deformation monitoring. We have sensors that can enable us to do that. So if, like we have got the oil in Western Uganda, it may be important it could be, as we're going into the extraction of oil, in some countries it has been seen that when you extract oil, there's some sort of deformation. Can we monitor that deformation? Can we monitor that rate? We have earthquakes. Can we see the impact, the warping and the like that happens? We can monitor, I think it's about urban monitoring, the heat islands, land subsidence, but also about flood mapping. All of these are possible examples of how we can use satellite imagery. So, in light of what we have gone through, what do you think would be some of the advantages of acquiring data from space in the way that we have gone through? Yeah?
Accuracy.
Well, we're able to get accurate data. consistently. Yeah. You can imagine how long it would take to collect this data on the ground. If I may ask, can you hazard a guess what area was discovered there? Yeah, that one is right. You have your Katanga there, and this is the building we are in. It's half road of World Road, right? And our first exercise is going to involve our, appreciation of how we're able to recognize features and identify them, map them. Yeah, so accuracy. Any other idea? Yeah, so it's nice. Wide coverage, yes. Any other ideas?
With such a map, you can predict an outbreak of the disease. For example, in those images, Katanga, you look at the kind of settlements,
Yes.
flooded, then you can predict an outbreak and go in before it occurs,
Yes.
provide an education,
Yeah.
preventive measures.
The other advantage is also integration with other data sources to do the sort of modeling that you're talking about. And we actually will have a paper which will be discussing the sort of things in the conference. Yes?
It also minimizes on losses. If you are to engage in something you've not foreseen the implication
Yes. Another example, another advantage is that this data is archived somewhere, so it can be accessed. So we have access to archived data, and anytime we can access it. We will not have the time to see how we can access this data. Well, in terms of we don't have sufficient time to go through all of this. But we can access those online online imagery, and can use it in whichever software. So from today we intend to use RPS, which most of us have used or were introduced to yesterday. So, maybe another advantage, especially for us coming from surveying. You've heard of cases where people are going to survey and the locals are coming with hangers to measure them off. So with this, we are able to access, sometimes difficult to reach places. Challenges, what challenges during visit? What is expensive? The launch may be expensive, so in some places it's done by government. So for example, NASA used to sell their imagery at one time, and there was a lot of outcry. And the argument is the activists were advancing that it is not with government money, it's a government resource, so the imagery should be freely available. So thanks to that, we are also able to access that imagery free of charge these days. Any other challenges? If you don't study, you won't know how to. So it's a skilled exercise. Yes. Yes, well, cloud cover is a big challenge. Yes. Yeah, interpretation is part of the skill that we need. Now, it's just that for here, I have chosen, it's just that for here, I have picked a very nice image. But otherwise, cloud cover is a big impediment, a big challenge. Especially for this one, which we refer to as optical impedance. Yes, it's big, you need resources. Thankfully with time that's not so much of an issue. handle the image. But there was a time when, it was a big problem, how to get a new computer. Yeah, so these are some of the, yes.
This could be in form of a question.
No problem.
Because since it's state managed, I have a feeling that it could be highly politicized.
It's possible. It has been used. If you remember when Colin Powell was before the UN and they're trying to say that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, they kept on putting these images. Not that you could say much from them, but you could also use it to intimidate over ignorance. So they had all the satellite images, high resolution images on this, and said, there is something here, but as we saw, there was nothing. And actually, in some places, some governments have had to put restrictions. So for some years, high security areas were cut out. So what they would do is that they would cut out this and then get a part from here and put it there. Yeah. And in some countries they have restrictions as to what level of detail you can go to when you're collecting imagery over their places. So there's a lot of politics in these things as well. Yeah. And that's why, as I mentioned before, some of these were originally military applications. Now, you will the success of Google Earth came about because of civilian organizations investing in this technology, getting high resolution imagery. But the US Army was able to get this spatial resolution in the 70s. But for civilian applications it came almost 20 years after. Yeah, so this is information that we know those people have. Russians probably have it, Russians are more secretive, so we don't really get to know more much about what they're doing. But yeah, there's also politics in this. So for us, we're only emphasizing the civilian applications. Yes. Actually, the military application of remote sensing, they actually have their own conferences apart from what we're doing here. I once was in a conference and somebody from one of the US intelligence agencies was having a stall, and they were saying that they were happy that civilians had ventured into this because when they're having those joint wars, they now don't have to give their classified information. They can pick this information which is in public domain and share with the allies. Allies before, you have the data, but there are restrictions. You can't share that data. And now you have this information, it's in the public domain, they can share it. People shall be reflecting on these questions. In which country and how will the satellite be built? What's the name of the company? Building the satellite, how did they start building satellites, etc., etc.
Space exploration was once the reserve of big governments spending big bucks. But as satellites have become more commercially interesting, the heavens are really beginning to open up. A new space age has begun, with ordinary companies venturing up into the skies. These are the real galactic frontiersmen. But how do they do it? When you think of rural England, you might think of rolling hills, cows and cups of tea. You might not think of satellites. But buried deep in southern England is Surrey Satellite Technology Limited. It may not have the scale and grandeur of NASA, but then these guys are bankrolled by billions of taxpayer dollars. These guys are doing it for themselves. Since 1981, they have designed, built and launched over 30 satellites into space. The key to that success is not spending money, as MD Dave Hodgson explains.
Our satellites typically
cost tens of millions of pounds. This compares with a traditional space industry cost of hundreds of millions of pounds.
3, 2.
Satellites are expensive because they're filled with highly sensitive scientific instruments that have to survive being blasted 700 kilometers into space, where they'll spend years being bombarded by cosmic radiation and exposed to the searing heat of the sun. In spite of its challenges, in summer you can get fixed up with your very own satellite from as little as $10 million. Bargain. The key to keeping the cost down is their use of off-the-shelf technology. Everything from insulation tape to the same kind of computer chips found in your laptop. These highly skilled aerospace engineers have a down-to-earth approach to space.
These are the sorts of things that we will make slight modifications to and launch and fly in space.
But not everything you need for your own homemade spacecraft can be bought at your local hardware store. The satellite they're building will be part of the Disaster Monitoring Constellation, or DMC, capturing vital images within hours of natural disasters, enabling relief agencies to identify where help is most needed. To respond to everything from tsunamis to tornadoes, it has to be able to take crystal clear pictures from 686 kilometers above the Earth. For that, you need to spend some serious money and go bespoke. And there's nothing cut price about the state-of-the-art imaging systems that they build from scratch on site. The snappily named multi-spectral imager is assembled by hand in an ISO Class 6 clean room, a filtered environment completely free of dust. Consumer cameras can give you images of 12 million pixels. The multi-spectral imager is capable of recording more than 8 billion pixels. That means in a single snap, it could capture an image of 300,000 square kilometers, an area the size of Italy. But black and white satellite photography went out with the Cold War. These days, we like to see our planet in color. So, 3 ordinary color filters combine to produce an ordinary color image, as seen by the human eye. While another, extraordinary infrared filter captures what the human eye can't see. In an infrared image, water like Lake Michigan shows up as dark blue or black, while in greener places, vegetation shows as vibrant red. But will this million-dollar camera survive the violence of a rocket launch and the rigors of life in orbit? Time for some space shock simulation. First up, this reinforced steel chamber, which can replicate the vacuum of space. Then, this temperature chamber, which can heat the components up to 120 degrees Celsius and chill them to -100. Once the satellite's passed its tests, there's just the small matter of getting it into space. Now you might think launching a satellite involved all this palaver. Boosters, auxiliary thrusters, and expensive manned missions. But by far the most cost-effective way to get anything into orbit is sticking it on the end of one of these, a converted Russian intercontinental ballistic missile. Launches always draw a great crowd. Nothing more exciting than watching rocket fuel burn. Once it's in orbit, the pixel-perfect pictures produced by the satellite will be used for everything, from life or death emergencies to monitoring crops and urban planning. And thanks to these plucky pioneers, conquering the heavens no longer costs the Earth.
Okay.
20,000 roses are picked every
Okay. Which country? How was the satellite been built?
Southern England.
Okay, Southern England. Sorry, exactly. You know, the UK, that's was the south, and maybe physics, you give us you give us a satellite. And remember the name of the company? Sorry, satellite company. And what are the comparative costs of the satellites? $10 million pounds as opposed to 100 million. You know, what about the conference, and somebody was trying to do research about the costs of these some of the satellites, and they're referring to this particular one. Sorry. Yeah, so they're saying, so like, that was pounds, Spain, 10 million pounds, another country, 10 million pounds, Nigeria, 40 million. So for the Nigerians, they hiked their price by around 4. What is the main application of this sensor? For them, they're mostly disaster monitoring, but really it's used across the board. At another conference I attended, for this book, like I told you, they have, it's a constellation, they have a constellation, so they have the one they've built, they have built one for Nigeria, another for Algeria, so they're like 5. So they have synchronized them such that they reduce the temporal resolution from like 16 days to like 2. So it so happens that when they had that Hurricane Katrina in the US, when there was lots of flooding, the satellite which came next was Nigeria sat. And so when people first saw Nigeria sat, they were a bit skeptical about the imagery because it was coming from Nigeria. So some of these challenges of perception. Yeah, but they have to give them reassurances that, you know, they have the same specifications. Yeah, so Nigeria has invested a lot in this, so we have quite a number of sensors in space, and they're coming up with higher resolution imagery thanks to their collaboration with this company. Remember the number of cameras that were on the satellite. Do you all see 4? 3, 4? No? How many do you remember? Oh, you didn't see any? 3 colors and? Yeah, so 3 colors plus infrared. So there were 4 cameras. And now this takes me back to, we're talking about spatial resolution, temporal resolution, geometric resolution, and now when it comes to spectral resolution, it refers to the number of bands that we get. So each of those cameras is going to give us an image. It's going to give us an image according to its location on the electromagnetic spectrum. Bennon is an expert in that area. So for me, I talk the easy stuff. The more complex stuff, this will tell you. So we have a camera, the blue portion of the spectrum, another in the green, another in the red, and if you remember from your elementary physics, we call that the visible spectrum. But there are other parts of the spectrum. X-rays which you don't see, but they are there. Infrared which you don't see, but it's there. Thermal infrared we don't see, but we feel because of emitted radiation, and so on and so forth. So we do not see in the infrared, but it is there. The radiation is there. And so if you have the appropriate filter, you can capture the radiation from there. Now, one of the very interesting things is, maybe I should begin with the question, what's the predominant power of vegetation? Green. So it means we have higher, more radiation, more of the green radiation. So that's why it's there. But if we had eyes that were operating the infrared, it's even brighter. Vegetation is a lot brighter in infrared than green. So what we do, in order to visualize, we assign it the red. So to get a true color composite, you need blue, green, and red. So that's how we come with the true color image. So if you just look behind you, the image of Kampala, where you see Google Maps Kampala image, that's like a true color image. So if you're in an aeroplane and you are looking down, that's what Kampala will look like. But for us to be able to see what is in the infrared, we assign infrared band red, we assign the red green, we assign the blue green. So if you look to the left, forest health stratification. The first one is what we refer to as the true color image. So if you're in a plane or a helicopter and looking down, that's what you'll see. Now the next one we refer to as a false color composite. And that's because we are now, here we only were looking at red, green and blue. In the next one, we now have the near infrared and combined with the red and the green. So that's what gives us that. So the vegetative areas are predominantly red. So also when you're looking at the video, predominant areas were red. And because of that characteristic of vegetation, it's what we mostly use for vegetative studies. So if you're going to study forests or wetlands or whatever, we're looking at the near infrared, red and the green. The next one, we need to do a bit of discussion, but for the moment, let's stop at those two. Color images, color composite, of course. So that, in a nutshell, hopefully gives us an overview of what is remote sensing, how to get sensors in space, how do you distinguish the images from different images. I am hoping that we will be able to cover a bit of ground by the end of the day. Our first exercise is going to be about visual image interpretation. Next we shall look at how do we enhance these images, and if we have enough time, we shall look at image classification. So we have an image, how do we categorize it into different classes so that we can automatically detect wetlands, forests, whatever. Now, maybe before we go for the tea break, we have two broad categorizations of how we apply remote sensing. We can use it for mapping purposes. So, for example, this presentation. So, in an image like this, we can determine the extent of Katanga. We can determine the road, we can determine the forested areas and the like. The other aspect which we won't have time to discuss here is modeling. So, can we, for example, look at the trees and find a measure of its biomass, for example? Now that is what we refer to as modeling. We're not looking just at the axis, but we're not looking at modeling. Or another example which we have been doing some research on that is if we look at a select image of Lake Victoria, can we determine its water quality? Can we determine the chlorophyll in? Can we determine? So we have ways in which we come up with algorithms, formulas that can look at these images collected at different portions of the electromagnetic spectrum, and from that we make calculating the water quality, or biomass, or in some cases, they'll try to do this modeling to get an estimate of yields for agriculture. Can we, by looking at the condition of the vegetation now, can we make an estimate of what the yield will be like? So there are so many things that we can do. In India, one of the things which was being explored. Now, these ones are images we have collected, green, blue, red, infrared. There's another portion of the spectrum, thermal, heat. So we have sensors that measure what is emitted. So we're trying to see if by measuring, like at night, by measuring the heat at each location, can we use that to make inference about the population? As you know, India is what? 1 million, 2 million? If you have to do a census, I mean, it can be a nightmare. So this was one of the things they wanted to explore. So the idea is that you get in your physical, you want to determine and measure, but you want to use, the picture that you can get. So those are the sort of two categorizations that we have of remote sensing. Now, for us, we are interested in what is, we're interested in the Earth, that's why we call it Earth observation. The other people are interested in space. So the cameras are looking the other way and trying to study space. But some of them use some of these same principles. Before Apollo 11 landed on the moon, they had to get to the moon, do some image analysis to determine the best place to land. It wasn't just, we shall see, some of these are really calculated, where we land, what's the condition of that place, and so on and so forth. So some of these are techniques that have moved from one discipline to another. Do we have any questions? Yes, Doctor.
I'm just looking at that image.
Yes.
And I'm trying to do some interpretation. And I would want us not necessarily to. What does that tell us that you have this road and separating this from the other? What comes to our mind is if I tell you what is it? How come that these two areas are so close together? Yeah.
Actually, there are many aspects. There is this aspect of increasing rural-urban migration. Now, because of the institution, slums are attracted to that area closer to the institution because of the petty businesses that they can attract from the institution. And the other aspect I wanted to bring out is recent climate issues, global warming and climate change. There is a belief that, is it the Kalahari Desert? They are giving some extent in terms of mileage or something, the increase per day or per some specific time they are giving. So I think they are also using the same technique, the same system to determine that in earlier years it wasn't as much as it is always.
And just to build up on the discussion, and this is the bit about remote sensing, that everyone will look at it from their perspective. The sociologists will maybe say, some rural migration, public health person will say, how do we, manage, what comes out of that. Everyone will have their idea, depending on where depending on where you touch the elephant. Yes. The artist may be looking, wow, look at the texture. Yeah, so, that is the thing about Moses. It cuts across, and everyone comes with their own perspective. The engineers, the people who are okay, infrastructure development, where do we need, where do we lack, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so, yes.
What can you talk about real-time remote sensing?
Real-time?
These are asked.
Yes. The most we get to is what we refer to as near real-time. The idea behind that, if you have the facilities, you can get real-time. We have a couple of places which are able to get real-time data. So, for example, what we refer to as the Regional Center for Mapping of Resources for Development in Nairobi. They have the satellite sensors, so as the satellites pass, they're downloading. South Africa has another one, I think Egypt. So they're in certain places. Yeah. And so what we have, what we have, for example, here, I think here, geography, prime minister's office, we have what we call the image receiver. So some clever people in Europe have come up with this idea that, especially the data that can be freely available, more these low spatial resolution, the data is downloaded in Europe, processed, and then transmitted to a satellite where it is now broadcast. So it's like a radio. If you have the receiver, you get the data. So that's now near real time because it goes somewhere, it is processed, retransmitted, and now get it as near real time. But for real time, you need to be able to receive the data, you need to be able to process it, and to store it. That's also another big challenge. But it is possible if you have the facilities. Yes.
The other question is, I found that it's too taxing to populate your database.
Yes.
Now, I'm wondering whether it's not possible to populate it automatically in the sense that we can separate this data in terms of the infrared, this color.
Again, it will now come down to the application. Because like I can tell you, the Geomatics receiver get 3 GBs of data per day. Some of it is not useful, some of it may be useful. So it comes down to your application. If you're studying the wetland, you don't need to get an image every day. If you're studying the city, growth of the city, you don't need that every day. But if, say, for example, you're in fisheries and you are into monitoring, you may need a daily image because if there's pollution, you want to be able to detect it when it occurs. So there are all of these give and take scenarios. And like I said, I may be interested in this image, but on its own it may not make sense. I may need a previous one or a later one so that I can make comparisons. But how previous should it be? What should be the difference between the immediate days? Because these high spatial resolution images are very costly. It's actually sold per kilometer. And yet, when you look at MODIS, which has a spatial resolution of 1 kilometer, it's freely available. All you have to do is to know where to get it on the website. Yeah. Some of these you have to buy them. Yes.
From my point of view, can you please throw some more light on the first application of remote sensing? Like for us in archaeology, our interest would be maybe using remote sensing to identify the artifacts. These artifacts may be under ground or on the surface. Now, assuming the surface has some vegetation, is this remote sensing going to show the colors of vegetation are not the artifacts, or can we be able to?
No, you will not be able to see artifacts within. So, especially for archaeology, we will have to have something that we can see on top that can give us an idea of what is underneath. Yeah, so there's another branch of remote sensing called radar. And that one is able to give you the sort of artifacts. It sees beyond the vegetation, but on the surface. So we're able to see some geological artifacts, which with your experience you'll be able to know that I think when you have this artifact together with something like this, there could be something underneath. So there's no ready answer. You need experience to know that if I combine this with this, yeah, so with experience you'll be able to know if I combine this with this, it could mean that. Yeah. So, we'll have a commercial break, and when we come back, we shall